Hello, everyone, and welcome to another segment of Divine Femininity United. I'm your girl, Dr. Bianca Mz Bee Lee, and we are here for our chapter 20 reading of Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, written by the late, great David R. Hawkins, Ph.D. This book has been amazing, and we are nearing the end, you all. We are really on chapter 20, and I want to say there are about 22 chapters, and I think the last chapter being like the appendix or some type of lingo terminology jargon that he listed for you to be able to understand and refer back to page numbers and things like that that you can go to specifically instead of having to scour through the whole book. So the next chapter after this is 21, and I think that is Q&A, which I'm not going to go into today. I would love to. If today was Sunday, then I would definitely continue on and complete the book on today's session. But because it's Tuesday night, because it's already late, I don't want to infringe on you all's time. You know how I feel about Tuesday nights and staying too long. That's you all's night. You're already winding down. It's dinner time in some of your homes. You're winding down with the children. You're spending time with your spouse, your mate, and or you're just wanting to be by yourself. And I get it. I get it. So I'm not going to take too much of your time. Okay. So here we go. We are going to begin with chapter 20. Now, I will say at any point in during this reading that you hear something that resonates with you on whatever platform you're listening from. We are airing live on social media, all platforms, Clubhouse, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. We're everywhere, you all. Okay, so if you hear anything from wherever you're listening from, use the comment section because it will show up on my end and I will see exactly what your comments are. Okay, let me know how you feel, what you thought about that, whatever resonated with you. Share your insights because we can all kind of feed off of that as well. Okay, I'm ready, you all. Without further ado, chapter 20. It is entitled Physician, Heal Thyself. Physician, Heal Thyself. By popular request, the personal experience of self healing has been shared many times at lectures, talks, and workshops. Everyone seems to want to hear the story over and over again of how a physician was healed of many diseases. Therefore, this chapter will relate the highlights of recovery and healing because they illustrate in detail just how the principles and techniques we have been talking about actually work at the pragmatic level. Lived experience and clinical observation confirm that the majority of human disorders are susceptible to being cured by following certain principles. Many diseases can be reversed unless there is a strong karmic dominance to the contrary. Paradoxically, those serious cases where all hope has been given up often respond promptly and give the best results. This is perhaps because the person has finally let go and is now sweetly reasonable. They are ready for what Thomas Kuhn calls a paradigm shift. That is, a willingness to see things differently from an expanded perspective and to be open minded. Sometimes it takes it sometimes it takes a chronic sickness, suffering, pain, and a confrontation with the fear of death before a person is willing to let go of cherished beliefs and open up to the truth of clinical reality. Next section, basic principles. Basic principles. This chapter details the healing and recovery from a multitude of physical illnesses in the life of a physician. We will delineate the basic principles that facilitated the process of self healing. In doing this, there will be a review of some of the material we have already covered so as to bring it together into an integrated overall experience. We will start with the basic working concepts. A thought is a thing, it has energy and form. The mind, with its thoughts and feelings, controls the body. Therefore, to heal the body, thoughts and feelings need to be changed. What is held in the mind tends to express itself through the body. The body is not the real self, it is like a puppet controlled by the mind. Beliefs that are unconscious can manifest as illness, even though there is no memory of the underlying beliefs. And illness tends to result from suppressed and repressed negative emotions, plus a thought that gives it a specific form. Example, consciously or unconsciously, one particular illness is chosen rather than another. Thoughts are caused by suppressed and repressed feelings, When a feeling is let go, thousands or even millions of thoughts that were activated by that feeling disappear. Although a specific belief can be canceled and energy to it can be refused, it is generally a waste of time to try to change thinking itself. We surrender a feeling by allowing it to be there without condemning, judging, or resisting it. We simply look at it, observe it, and allow it to be felt without trying to modify it. With the willingness to relinquish a feeling, it will run out in due time. A strong feeling may recur, which means there is more of it to be recognized and surrendered. In order to surrender a feeling, sometimes it is necessary to start by relinquishing the feeling that is there about the particular emotion. Example, guilt that I shouldn't have this feeling. In order to relinquish a feeling, sometimes it is necessary to acknowledge and let go of the underlying payoff of it. Example, the thrill of anger and the juice of sympathy from being a helpless victim. Feelings are not the real self, whereas feelings are programs that come and go. The real inner higher self always stays the same. Therefore, it is necessary to stop identifying transient feelings as yourself. Ignore thoughts. They are merely endless rationalizations of inner feelings. No matter what is going on in life, keep the steadfast intention to surrender negative feelings as they rise. Make it a decision that freedom is more desirable than having a negative feeling. Choose to surrender negative feelings rather than express them. Surrender resistance to and skepticism about positive feelings. Relinquish negative feelings, but share positive ones. Notice that letting go is accompanied by a subtle, overall lighter feeling within yourself. Relinquishing a desire does not mean that you won't get what you want. It merely clears the way for it to happen. Get it by osmosis. Put yourself in the aura of those who have what you want. Like goes to like. Associate with people who are using the same or similar motivation and who have the intention to expand their consciousness and to heal. Be aware that your inner state is known and transmitted. The people around you will intuit what you are feeling and thinking, even if you don't verbalize it. Persistence pays off. Some symptoms or illnesses may disappear promptly. Others may take months or years if the condition is very chronic. Let go of resisting the technique. Start the day with it. At the end of the day, take time out to relinquish any negative feelings left over from the day's activities. You are only subject to what you hold in mind. You are only subject to a negative thought or belief if you consciously or unconsciously say that it applies to you. Stop giving the physical disorder a name. Do not label it. A label is a whole program. Surrender what is actually felt, which are the sensations themselves. We cannot feel a disease. A disease is an abstract concept held in the mind. We cannot, for instance, feel asthma. It is helpful to ask, what am I actually feeling? Simply observe the physical sensations such as tightness in the chest, wheezing, a cough. It is not possible, for example, to experience the thought, I'm not getting enough air. That is a fearful thought in the mind. It is a concept, a whole program called asthma. What is actually being experienced is a tension or constriction in the throat or chest. The same principle goes for ulcers and any other disorder. We cannot feel ulcers. We feel a burning or piercing sensation. The word ulcer is a label and a program. And as soon as we use it, the label and we the label as soon as we use that word to label our experience, we identify ourselves with the whole ulcer program. Even the word pain is a program. In reality, we are feeling a specific body sensation. The process of self-healing goes more quickly when we let go of labeling and giving a name to the various physical sensations. I tell my clients this all the time when they're speaking to me and they say, well, my anxiety or my this or my that. I cut them off immediately. The reason that you're battling with it is because you're naming it, you're claiming it, and you're calling it yours. That's why it's going to stick around, because you've made a home for it, right? You've made it comfortable. Okay. And last, the same is true with our feelings. Instead of putting labels and names on feelings, we can simply feel the feelings and let go of the energy behind them. It is not necessary to label a feeling fear in order to be aware of its energy and relinquish that energy. So true. I love all of that. He just summed up all of the chapters that we just read, all of the nuggets. Very, very good. Next section, the healing of multiple diseases. In the case of this physician, there were so many illnesses all at one time that it was impossible to remember them all. When giving a lecture, it was necessary to list them on an index card. All of the following illnesses were occurring at age 50. Listen to these, you all. Migraine headaches, chronic and frequent. Blocked Eustachian tubes, painful earaches, nearsightedness, and astigmatism. Trifocals were prescribed. Sinusitis, postnasal drip, and allergies. Dermatitis, various types. Gout attacks, necessary to carry a cane in the trunk of the car and to have a restricted diet. Cholesterol problem, further restrictions in diet. Duodenal ulcer, okay? Chronic and recurring for over 20 years, unresponsive to all medical treatments. Pancreatitis, intermittent attacks precipitated by the recurrent ulcer. Gastritis, hyperacidity, intermittent pylorospasm. Therefore, further diet restrictions. Colitis, recurring. Ooh, diverticulitis, and appendicitis type condition of the colon, sometimes hemorrhaged, requiring hospitalization and blood transfusions. My goodness. Common problems at the lower end of the gastrointestinal tract, scheduled for surgery. Arthritis of the cervical spine, the neck, displacement of the fourth cervical vertebrae. Low back syndrome, my goodness, necessitating chiropractic treatment. Okay. Vibration disease, Raynaud's syndrome, loss of sensation and impeding gangrene in fingertips due to loss of circulation. Middle age syndrome, coldness in hands and feet, loss of energy and libido, and depression. Oh my goodness. Pilonidal cyst of base of spine, curable only by surgery. Bronchitis and chronic cough, aggravated the headaches, spondylosis, and low back syndrome. Poison ivy sensitivity, skin broke out every year, sometimes require hospitalization. Athlete's foot. There was the belief system that it came from hotel room floors. Dandruff. There was the belief system that it came from being in the barbershop. Inflammation of the cartilage. Wow. A rare disorder with painful swelling of the junction of the rib and the sternum. Dental and gum problems, loss of bone around the base of the teeth. Surgery was recommended for the gums. Overall energy imbalance. Kinesiologic testing revealed that all of the energy systems were out of balance and every meridian tested weak. My goodness, this is all in one person at the age of 50, you all, which is technically still considered kind of young, you know? In retrospect, it is mind-boggling how the body kept on going in the world and functioning as well as it did. Inasmuch as each of the disorders required a further restriction in diet, there were times when lettuce and carrots were about the only safe foods. This led to the loss of 25 pounds and a body that looked thin and haggard. Later, some friends revealed that they had made bets on how long that body was going to last. Most of them estimated that it would probably keel over at about age 53. First of all, that's terrible. Okay, that's to get those people from around you for real. The inner question at the time was, how could a successful, highly educated professional man functioning creatively in the world, leading a balanced life, who had been thoroughly psychoanalyzed and experienced Many modalities of therapy and healing still have so many physical ailments. Yes, there was a large workload, but it was balanced with physical exercise and creative work, such as carpentry, masonry, woodwork, and architectural designs. Moreover, the spiritual life was active with 2 hours of meditation every day before and after work. The endless techniques mentioned in the introduction were investigated: self hypnosis, macrobiotics, reflexology, iridology, polarity therapy, affirmations, astral projection, group intensives, body work, relaxation, and so on. What was the answer to this strange paradox of someone who had tried a multitude of techniques, groups, and therapies, but who still had a staggering array of illnesses? Also, how was it that he operated so successfully in the world despite this long list of illnesses and the constant pain that went with them? The answer seemed to be a very strong will. It carried him through all obstacles and had the power to push aside anything that interfered with that effective functioning, in this case, primarily feelings. With that kind of willpower, when a feeling was suppressed, it stayed suppressed. The scientific ideal of objectivity means an absence of emotion. The achievement of this ideal in clinical and scientific work necessitated a suppression of feelings. This was especially intense given the nature of the clinical practice, which was with severely ill people. The extent of their suffering and that of their families seemed nearly endless. It went on relentlessly, day after day, year in and year out. The intensity was compounded by having a compassionate nature and being attuned to people's suffering. The mounting pressures and or of suppressed emotion in all areas of life obviously contributed to the multiplicity of illnesses. At a certain point, both the mechanism of surrender and a course in miracles were investigated and applied to daily life. Because of the busy work schedule, there was very little time for any new techniques. Happily, the workbook of A Course in Miracles requires the simple contemplation of a sentence or lesson throughout the day. The power of this technique is the alleviation of guilt by utilizing the mechanism of forgiveness. The mechanism of surrender could also be done silently throughout the day as an inner process. The two tools work together. Surrendering and forgiving went on simultaneously during the day. Once the mind knows the way to alleviate its inner pressure, like Pandora's box, it begins to let all the garbage up, and up it came in profusion. Thoughts and feelings which had hardly been noticed at the time of their occurrence now returned. Life had been so busy that there had not been the time to handle them. The decompression process began to unfold on its own. One immediate discovery was that every negative feeling or thought is associated with guilt. And this guilt is so all encompassing that it is constantly being suppressed. Thus, there is no such thing as just anger. The actual feeling is anger and guilt. There's a guilt every time we have a critical thought about someone. The mind's constant judging and criticizing of the world, its events and people, is an unending source of guilt. Guilt itself engenders negative feelings, and negative feelings in and of themselves also engender guilt. It is that deadly combination which pulls us all down and creates such widespread illness and unhappiness. The guilt is so omnipresent that no matter what we are doing, we feel somewhere in our mind that we should be doing something else. We have lived with so much guilt for so long that we don't even recognize it anymore. And somehow that guilt is projected by the average mind onto the world around it. That is why most people need an enemy, quote unquote, an object on which to project that inner guilt. That is so true, my goodness. It is also where tyrants get their power by manipulating people's guilt and finding a satisfactory target for it. Mm. There was also the discovery of a disdain for feelings. Anger surfaced at the imposition of feelings, which can make a person feel like a victim. To a left brain orientation, feelings were the opposite of reasonableness, logic, and rationality. Superimposed on this was the male chauvinist idea that emotions were for women, children, and artistic types. So true. Capricorns. Okay. Feelings had been primarily a name of intellectual understanding and clinical analysis. When they came up internally, they had been labeled, pigeonholed, and filed away. At the beginning of working with the letting go technique, there was a period of rebellion and actually hating the feelings and experiencing dread over having to deal with them. It seemed degrading to have to suffer through them. This required a shift of self concept because of the strong identification with the intellect as true. Now, like it or not, it had to be acknowledged that everyone is thinking, feeling organism. Yes, it's a thinking, feeling organism. We are. It would not work to keep denying reality. Exactly. You cannot keep denying your feelings, denying your emotions, and all of those things, and acting like they're not there. Every single human being, born, created, formed, and shaped, was born, created, formed, and shaped with feelings and thoughts. So to not feel, to not emote, is to stunt yourself. That's what that is. Before long, it was okay to have feelings. With the letting go technique, the only way out was to acknowledge and relinquish the feelings, right? The only way out is through. Go through it. This became easier as the physical condition started to improve. Although it can initially be difficult to face feelings in ourselves, the light at the end of the tunnel had shown itself, and this engendered hope. That's it. This too shall pass. The sooner you get through it, the sooner you face it and get through it, the sooner it will be on the other. You will be on the other side of it. That's good. Within days of using the technique, the physical condition at the lower end of the gastrointestinal tract promptly healed itself, and in fact, the surgery was canceled. Many of the symptoms that had been active for years, even decades, began to diminish in intensity and frequency as the months went by. Migraine headaches, in particular, became less and less frequent. Lower back pains disappeared. The body began to feel lighter and stronger. Then, an unexpected crisis came that brought intense emotional pressure. The diverticulitis returned in a severe form with massive hemorrhaging. There was an inner decision of great magnitude. Either this stuff works or it doesn't. So this time, instead of going to the hospital and getting transfusions, there was a complete surrender. All of the sensations going on in the abdomen were acknowledged and not resisted. They were not given a name or a label. Instead of thoughts or words, there was a sense of oneness with the sensations, the cramps, and the pains. There was no resistance to the sensations, no matter how intense, like being on a razor's edge. Every sensation and feeling was recognized and surrendered. This went on for 4 solid hours. At the end of 4 hours, the bleeding stopped, the cramps went away, and the diverticulitis was healed. Later, there were some minor recurrences, but each one was handled in the same way. And eventually, the attacks subsided and disappeared. So the mechanism of surrender passed the acid test. It succeeded where everything else had failed. With continued application, other disorders began to fade away. Over time, the experience of knowing replaced thinking. Knowing comes knowing comes on in a totally different manner. It is just standing there for our recognition. One morning upon walking, there was the knowing of being cured of poison ivy. At the same time, it was obvious that the very name, the label poison ivy, was a program and a belief system in and of itself. In any case, there was the knowing of being immune to poison ivy, even when going outside, touching it, playing with it, and putting some of it in a flower pot to carry to an interview program that evening. The subject of the interview was the power of consciousness in self healing. Another episode of knowingness occurred one day when unexpectedly confronted by intense insecticide fumes. Such fumes had been a severe allergy for many years and invariably triggered a severe migraine. On this particular day, however, there was the sudden knowing of immunity to fumes. Walking into a recently fumigated home and taking very deep breaths of the fumes without any consequences at all. A sudden elated feeling of freedom prevailed. How wonderful to be free and to experience the power of mind. It was obvious in that moment that we are only subject to those things that we hold in mind. It is not necessary to be a slave or victim in the world. The same thing happened with a long standing belief about elevated cholesterol. As the belief and concept of it were canceled, eating dairy products was resumed with no negative impact on cholesterol. In fact, blood testing showed a progressive lowering of unhealthy cholesterol levels. Moreover, food intolerances and allergies disappeared. It took at least 1 year, however, for the sugar intolerance and functional hypoglycemia to disappear. For a period of time, it would still recur under periods of stress, especially physical exertion, after eating sugar and sweets accompanied by caffeine. In the meantime, it was possible to return to a regular diet after many years of severe restrictions. How freeing to eat foods with seeds, not allowed with diverticulitis. All of the foods that were supposed to be contraindicated and indicated for ulcers and colitis, and even hot fudge sundaes. It took a couple of years for the functional hypoglycemia to disappear, but eventually it was possible to eat all of the sweets that had been forgiven for years. The whole middle age syndrome was a belief system as well. As this belief system was canceled and surrendered, the coldness disappeared from the hands and feet. The fatigue, mild depression, and irritability also disappeared. Physical stamina increased, and the tolerance for physical work became almost unlimited. Now that the more major things were out of the way, some of the minor ailments were consciously addressed. The belief in uh, pilonidal cyst was surrendered. In 6 weeks, it disappeared. The eustachian tube, which always blocked when flying in airplanes, caused severe pain in the right ear. It took 2 years to correct itself. There was a continual letting go of all thoughts and feelings about it. And at the same time, the use of visualization, in which the angle of the canal with the right temple bone was pictured as changing to a normal angle. This was the only ailment with which visualization was used. At the end of 2 years, the ailment disappeared, and there was never any further difficulty in clearing the ears with changes in altitude. Mhm. In the meantime, the neck pains were progressively disappearing, and this made dancing possible. While dancing and surrendering any resistance to the neck pain, soon the body began to automatically put itself into self healing postures and movements, as though there were an inner chiropractor manipulating the spine. It was an uncanny sensation, as though invisible healers were realigning the spine. That's cool. As this was going on, there were changes in circulation occurring in the hands and feet, and they were no longer cold all the time. The vibration disease in the fingertips, which had been threatening gangrene, now reversed itself. The pads in the fingertips swelled back out and turned pink again. The burning pain in the fingertips disappeared. Sensation returned. Up to that time, the fingers had become so numb that it was not possible to turn the pages of a book. My goodness. As the more serious ailments were healed, there was the energy and time to look at even more minor issues. There had been a long standing belief that the people catch dandruff in barbershops. When that belief was surrendered, the dandruff disappeared. A similar process occurred when the belief that correlated athletes' foot with hotel room floors. Upon continual cancellation of that belief, athlete's foot disappeared. At Thanksgiving time 1 year, there was the opportunity to test the technique in an acute situation. A huge log dropped on the left foot and broke all the bones across the whole forefoot. Instead of rushing out to get a cast, the letting go technique was used. By Christmas, it was possible to return to the dance floor. At a later time, a severely sprained ankle healed itself in minutes by instantly surrendering the pain. My goodness. You know what? I've heard this. I've heard this several times before, that pain is a mind thing. All things, sickness, disease, we literally, I really don't believe that we understand the power that we are, that transcends the power that we possess. It's not so much what we have, it's what we are. And the reason that our bodies, our lives, our thoughts, our emotions, our anything occurs as long as it does, actually even comes to us and stays with us as long as it does, it's because we say so. We say so. We make it ours. We make it stay. We call it home. We claim it as ours. We do this. We do this. I had a client just the other day on Friday. She says, Dr. B, I think I have ADD. And I looked at her. I said, and what makes you say this? Well, I was looking up the symptoms online, and I said, oh, here we go, another case of WebMD. Self-diagnosis. And I said, I'm gonna tell you something. The reason that you feel that you have ADD, and the reason that you could possibly develop ADD, is because you're claiming ADD as yours. You're giving it to yourself. You're doing this to yourself. There's nothing wrong with your attention span, nothing at all. What you need to do is practice stillness, because you're doing too much. That's what that is. Quiet your mind. It's called discipline, stillness, meditation, oneness, grounding, centering. That's what it's called, not ADD. Okay? Align with yourself. Bring some order to yourself. Your mind is scattered about, it's overwhelmed, overworked, and you're putting too much on it. Okay? And you've given it the driver's seat, and it's trying to control you because you have taken the back seat and have not gained the control over it. Okay? That's what that is. Meditate, and all of that ADD mess will leave you. All right? So that's what it is. But the power that we are, because we are not this body. We're not this body. We're not these emotions. We are not these thoughts. We are higher than that. We are greater, more divine, more sacred than that. We have already transcended all things, all circumstances, all situations, all ailments, all of it. We have transcended it all. We are nowhere near, our true self is nowhere in the vicinity of an ailment. But when we don't know that about ourselves, we are susceptible to falling prey to all of this stuff, this human man stuff, man-made worldly things. We are to be here, not to become here. We are to be here. We are to transmute here. We are to elevate here. We are to learn here. We are not to become here. Okay? Know who you are, and then be that. And that way, everything else that tries to claim itself, or you try to claim or make yours, you'll see it as an opportunity to demonstrate who you are and the power that you are. This man healed himself once he, number one, aligned with himself and understood the power that he possessed. Definitely. Okay. Wow. And it took some time because he had some deep-seated stuff in there. He had deep-seated stuff in there. So it took time for him to really pull that stuff out of the subconscious, cellars, and to really, 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 really surrender it, let it go, acknowledge it, feel it, whatever he needed to do. And some of that was so deeply, deeply, deeply embedded. He had suppressed over the 50 years of his life, avoided, escaped, all of that over the 50 years of his life. And it was him letting go. He had to release it. He had to feel it. He had to confront it. He had to release it, surrender. And then he was able to gain the healing that he rightfully deserved, that would have connected him to his true self, who is without blemish, without spot, without ailments, without pain. Okay? Know who you are. Next section, healing of vision. One evening, while giving a lecture on the mechanism of surrender and making note of all of the above healings which had been experienced, a member of the audience said, "Doctor, if you healed all of those ailments, then why do you still wear glasses? Couldn't poor eyesight be healed the same way?" Well, I never thought of wearing glasses as a disease. I always thought of it as an anatomical structural defect of the body. But now that you mention it, I don't see any reason why I shouldn't heal. So the bifocals were removed and stowed in a coat pocket. Indeed, at that time, eyesight was declining to the point that trifocals had been prescribed and ordered. In leaving the lecture that evening, the same inner knowingness came that the condition would heal itself with sufficient faith and trust. Driving home without glasses, vision was blurred. The pace was slow, with headlights on the curb. There was an inner knowingness that we would always see what we needed to see, but unable to see what we wanted to see. During the next 6 weeks, a great deal was observed and learned about what goes on behind our everyday, ordinary seeing. There is a whole myriad of feelings, varying from curiosity to competitive competition to erotic interest to intellectual titillation. Only about 5% of our vision is absolutely necessary to function in the world. That's so true, man. Wow, I never thought about that. We are nosy. That's what it is. We are nosy. Okay. And so 95%, he just said only 5% of our vision is absolutely necessary. So the other 95% is us watching stuff that ain't got nothing to do with us. Isn't that something? That is wild. We're nosy. A peculiar phenomenon occurred. Only that which was necessary to see was seen. Come on. Ooh, that's some revelation in that right there. A peculiar phenomenon occurred. Only that which was necessary to see was seen. My God, listen, that's my mission for myself. I want to see only what's necessary to be seen. I don't want to see any other stuff. I want to be blind to all of the unnecessary stuff. I want to see what's only necessary to be seen. Okay? Reading newspapers and magazines, watching television, or going to the movies were all impossible. It became clear how most of my vision is merely escapism. Woo. Most of vision is merely escapism. On the road, it was as if Mr. Magoo were behind the wheel. Again and again, that same mysterious phenomenon would occur. As soon as it was vital to see something, that's when it would be seen. The edge of the cliff was made visible just as it was necessary to see it. My goodness, there was a great deal of anxiety with a constant surrendering of fear. Finally, by the end of 6 weeks, the fear seemed to run out. Instead, a deep surrender took place. Well, I will only see that which I am allowed to see. The other emotional objectives were which seeing had subserved up to that point were willingly surrendered. Then a profound sense of inner stillness and peace occurred, and a feeling of oneness with whatever it is that runs the universe. And in that instant, suddenly, come on, suddenly, visual vision returned totally and perfectly. What had not been visible or readable now was crystal clear street signs, fine print in dim light, objects in great detail across the room and at great distance. At the next eye test for a driving license renewal, the evaluator said that the vision was perfect and that glasses would no longer be required. This had never occurred on any previous eye test. Since telling this story around the country, quite a number of other people have taken off their glasses and gone through the same experience. Interestingly enough, each one said that it took about 6 weeks. One of the people who had accomplished this decided to put his glasses on again. When asked the reason, he said that his wife was so used to seeing him with glasses that he looked homely without them. And so he put on blank ones in order to please her. He did it just because he loved her and wanted to make her happy, which is a very different reason than having to wear glasses because of impaired vision. It's true, but I don't know if I would have put them back on anyway. Period. Because what you mean? What you mean I look homely? No, get used to the new face, homely or not. The glasses are coming off. Thank you. All right. But he did what he wanted. He did what he thought was best for him and his wife. So that's what's up. Those of us who have had the experience of healed vision agree on one discovery. It is with the mind itself that we see. Come on, not the eyeballs. It is with the mind itself that we see, not the eyeballs. Recently, one of the cases was a woman who had been blind since shortly after birth and had gross derangements of both eyeballs. After hearing the lecture on recovery of vision, she pursued a medical protocol and practiced the letting go technique on her sight. Within 2 days, she began to experience a return of sight. She came up after the lecture and said, I know you are right. I know that one sees through the mind because that is what is happening to me. I am seeing, and I am seeing with my mind. To understand how all of these healings can come about, some of them verging on the miraculous, we have to revise many of our thoughts about bodily processes, the mechanisms of healing, and how medical treatments bring about results. It was discovered that there is a self-healing power within that is activated by continual surrender. That is so true. Oh, the power that we are, man. The power that we are, the power that we are, the power that we are. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I urge you, I beg you, I plead to you and ask for you to get to know you. Get to know you. Not who you were made to be, not what your mom and dad told you you were, not what society expects you to be, not this persona you put on, the persona which has a root word of persona of no personality, this personality that you put on, which has the root word of persona, which is Latin for mask. Take the mask off. Who are you? Who are you? Why are you? How are you? Where are you? Have those answers for yourself. Identify yourself. Identify yourself. It is safe to be you now. It is safe. I promise you. It's safe to be you now. You can take off the masks. You can take off the, false confident and false this and false that. You can take it off. It's okay to be you now. Find out who you are and stand in that. Operate as such. All right? That's oof. If you do nothing else in this life, nothing else, return to yourself. Return to home as yourself. Return to yourself as yourself. And then live the rest of your days from there. You'll see it's totally different. And as yourself, you can detach from all of these things. Even the things that the doctor told you. You don't have to be cancer. You don't have to be asthma. You don't have to be depression. You don't have to be anxiety. You don't have to be Tourette's. You don't have to be disabled. You don't have to be. You just don't. You don't have to have ADD. I told my client, no, ma'am. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. You don't have to be this. You can be you. It's safe to be you. It's okay to be you. But identify you first and then be that. All right. That is it for today's segment. That is it for today's segment. I loved it. It was very, very good. Physician, heal thyself. If you don't have the book, I know we're coming to a close in the book. We have one more chapter. That is the Q&A, and we're going to go over that on Sunday, which is perfect because we'll be introducing the new book on Sunday as well, the next book that we'll be reading. I'm excited about that. I really, really am. Okay, you know what I want to do? Yes, we have several David R. Hawkins books to go through, and we will go through them. But I want to go into something different, and I'm going to make that announcement on Sunday. We're going to be reading a book since we're talking about the body and how the mind plays a role in it. I'm happy to introduce the book that we're going to be reading moving after Sunday, okay? Sunday being the last day of letting go, all right? If you want the book, though, regardless of whether we're continuing on or not, to have it in your library for you to read at a later date, or just to have in your collection, inbox me, okay? Inbox me, send me an email, send me a message wherever you're listening from, and request it. I just need your email address, and I'll send it over to you as soon as you ask for it. There's no fee required. We are a nonprofit organization, so donations are thankful and they're helpful. You know, we're grateful for them. They're welcome. I'll say that, but they're not required. Okay, so request the book, get the book for yourself. All right, visit my website and you can go there and see exactly how to contact me. You can see the services that I offer. Take advantage of those. You can purchase some merchandise and things like that. You can see the latest astrological transits that are going on. We have a lot happening right now where the sun is in Libra. This is Libra season. My birthday is coming up on Saturday, you all. Yes, yes, yes. I'm excited about a new trip around the sun. Okay. So we're in Libra season. The sun is in Libra. Mars is in Cancer. We have Venus in Scorpio. We have a new moon eclipse happening tomorrow, actually. Which this, and then we still have the nodes in North node is in Aries, South node is in Libra. We have a lot of Venusian energy happening here, man. Venus, 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 Libra, Libra, Libra. Sheesh. Okay, man, and we still have Saturn retrograde. We still have, listen, you all, we got a lot happening, and it's a lot in the realm of relationships, endings, beginnings. Actually, we're being called to the carpet about what it is that we truly, truly believe. You know, are we just saying something, or do we really, 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 really believe what we're saying? Because you know, we're masters of illusion out here, you all. We have learned the ways of illusion. We know how to fake it till we make it 100%. And so now this season and where we are right now, it is calling for us to derobe the falsehoods. Yep. All of the BS is being called out. It sure is. All of the stuff that's hidden in the corners of you, in your inner, you know, sanctuaries, your inner cellars and things like that, they're coming up and out. It's time. It is time. It's time to rid ourselves of this stuff, you all. It's been sitting long enough. It's time to rid yourself and become one with you. Okay, this season here is diving deeply in the relationship area, not just with others, definitely with others, but not just with others, mainly with self. With self. So it's not by happenstance that we just finished this chapter. Listen, you all, it's time. It's beyond time. It's beyond time. And I mean, if you don't do it voluntarily, the atmosphere, the cosmos are really nudging you in that direction. Life is happening for you, my love, not to you. Go with it. Don't fight it. I'm telling you, it's an easier transit. Go with it. Go with it. And see, and know that it brings wonderfulness on the other side. You just got to make room. Clear the way. Get this stuff out of you. Please and thank you. It's not just for you, it's for all of us. Okay? Because we are interconnected 100%. All righty, you all. Follow me on social media. Excuse me. There was a sneeze that was sitting in there all night. Follow me on social media: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Clubhouse, LinkedIn, all of it. Dr. Bianca Mz Bee Lee. All right, you all, that's it. Excuse me. Bless me. All righty, you all, I love you. I mean it. There is absolutely positively nothing you can do about it. Don't you even try it. We'll be back here on Sunday evening, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here at Divine Femininity United. Peace.